Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am very excited for today's vloggity vlog to fill you in on what I've been up to here on what I used to call our little homestead in the city, in the mountains, near the lake, whatever you want to call it. We got a lot of stuff going on around our home today that I'm, just jazzed to share with you. Everything from lots of cooking. I know a lot of you guys like my cooking videos, and I'm doing a lot of cooking in this video, but we also have been doing some renovations and we got some new furniture. I have been doing a lot of commentary videos lately, and if you want to check those out and you haven't, feel free to go check them out. But I, of course, love making these vlogs. So they take me a little longer to get out, but I'm here, I'm back with one. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment. Let's hop right in. Okay, so we're starting off with a couple of random things. Dan actually worked on my friend Jess's bus recently. He did a bunch of welding for her to actually build a bed in her bus van situation. So that was pretty cool. And it was very hot in this day. And at the end of the day, we got to make our way down to the lake. This is probably our last big lake day because the weather really has cooled down quite a bit. But we got to go paddleboarding while my parents stayed with our children. And it was so much fun. We paddleboarded really far, or at least really far for us. And we actually parked ourselves on a beach and we just hung out for a while. We got to talk uninterrupted. All of you parents know what's up with that. That's always an exciting gift. We got to talk and hang and uninterrupted. I swam quite a bit. I do this weird thing with rocks where I tend to just build the rocks into things, lay them on my legs. It's very exciting times. Now, back to our house. Dan's parents actually recently gifted us new vanities for our bathrooms, and this was really exciting because these were this was the next big thing we wanted to do to our house, because it really, we felt like this was really going to elevate our house in general, make it a lot nicer, and it just felt like these were the things that were just older, that we wanted newer. I don't know why I'm spending my time here validating our renovations, but we really wanted to renovate. And so for them to gift us these vanities was just such a sweet treat. That rhymed, haha. And I needed to bring everything out of my bathroom, our master bathroom, while Dan was working on the guest bathroom, taking everything apart. Bye-bye, see ya. Logan was also very excited. And we had actually painted both of those bathroom cabinets, but we joked that they were shabby chic. So it was just very exciting to get in these new bathroom counters. So on this day also, while Dan worked, Logan and I built some puzzles. We check out all kinds of things from the library, as you know, if you watched my recent Day of My Life videos, but puzzles is one of them. This was actually a senior citizen puzzle. That's how it was marketed, but I thought that's perfect for a 5-year-old, and it in fact was. We had so much fun building all 3 puzzles that were in the box, and I had to just show you them complete because they were actually beautiful. I also checked out this book, Cravings by Chrissy Teigen, at the library, and decided to make these stuffed peppers. So I started off by throwing some bacon in the oven because that is almost always my preferred method of cooking bacon, because I was going to be using the bacon in this recipe. And then instead of jalapeno peppers, I decided to use poblano peppers because our local farm stand, we have a few local farm stands, has been exploding with poblanos. So plus I just thought it was a better delivery system for eating a bunch of the filling, which is what I wanted. So I cut out the inside, and also this recipe used pineapple, which I thought was really interesting. So it's a pineapple, bacon, cream cheese, mozzarella stuffed pepper situation. It was as good as it sounds. I have only made a couple of recipes from her book, but they've been good so far. This is actually my new favorite pastime that Dan told me I shouldn't be telling you guys this because then all the cookbooks will be checked out at the libraries, but I think he's overestimating how many people actually watch my videos at this point. But check out cookbooks from the library because it is such an awesome way to get to see if you actually want to buy a cookbook and just to cook your way through a bunch of different people's recipes and techniques. And I know, guys, you're probably, if you're watching this, you're still waiting for me to release my cookbook. One day, guys, I really believe by the grace of God, it's going to happen one day. I reference my own cookbook regularly, but just actually getting out there, getting it out there and done as you can imagine, an ordeal. And honestly, reading other people's cookbooks is like adding to the like diversity in my own cookbooks and my cooking in general, and inspiring me, also maybe intimidating me a little bit, because it is crazy seeing other people's books. Like, wow, I know how much work goes into this, kind of. Although I think a lot of these people have like large groups of people helping them, but still, yeah, so this is, as you can see, pineapple, bacon, cream cheese, mozzarella, onions. I think it was like salt, pepper, garlic powder. Did I use garlic cloves? I'm not sure. But once I had mixed everything together, then I scooped it all into my poblano peppers. And once I had filled up my poblano peppers, I actually had like some leftover filling. And I have been picking up jalapenos from the farm stands as well. I just really wanted to use these poblano peppers. But since I had extra filling, I did put the filling in a couple of jalapeno peppers as well, just to use all of the filling. And then I popped it in the oven. Oh yeah. So the other thing I really wanted to make from our cookbook was this cheesy guacamole. This is so good. It would never have occurred to me to put cheddar cheese in my guacamole, but it's absolutely delicious. The flavoring that she uses is cayenne pepper and cumin mainly, with lots of, I believe it was, I don't remember if it was lime or lemon, one of the two. And she has you kind of blend everything together, or like squish everything together first. And then you fold in like the cherry tomatoes, the jalapeno pepper, the onion, the cheddar cheese. It was so good. The flavor combination of all of this, like, just seriously delicious. And like I said, garlic, as you can see, it would have never occurred to me to put cheddar in my guacamole. And once it's together, you're like, oh, this is like obviously really delicious. And just a little mix up of how, you might normally do guac. I love trying different people's guacamole recipes, because even though guac is guac, it's also different, like depending on how you make it, obviously, right? That was an obvious statement, but trying different people's versions is so fun to me. I also really like making guacamole, side note, with pickled jalapenos. It's really good. Anyways, then I pulled my peppers out of the oven. We ended up eating them kind of like steaks, like with a fork and a knife, and cutting them. Once they cooled down a bit, I was able to kind of fold it like a taco. But yeah, I put cilantro obviously in the guac. Oh, I can see I did use lime in this. And of course, I had to eat it with my Masa Chips. I love Masa Chips. If you haven't heard me talk about them before, they are tallow fried corn tortilla chips. If you use my discount code Nikki Philippi, you will get 20% off of your first time order. And as always, I really appreciate when you guys use my links or my codes, because I get a kickback of that and I appreciate it a lot. So much is happening in this video. I'll just jump right to it. Guys, look at how amazing this is. So we got this about maybe a week or so ago off Facebook Marketplace. It's originally from Cost Plus World Market. You open it just by like reaching in one of these little lace things and opening it up. And I'm so excited because this house is very small and it's really got not much storage to it. So we have this thing over here, which has been awesome, but it has not been enough space because yes, we have a bunch of cupboards in our kitchen, but I don't know, man, we just have a lot of stuff. And with homeschooling and we go to the library all the time, it had gotten to the point, I realized, by the way, I look amazing. I also have my pumps on. You might see them glowing through my top. But I realized we constantly had all of our homeschool stuff like out on our table in the way, like it just literally became a decoration. Actually, that wreath is what was on the wall. We're gonna actually move it over here above that wicker trunk situation. But yeah, just so amazing. Now we have a place to put all of our library stuff when we pick it up. It just goes straight in the cupboard with all of our craft supplies, homeschooling stuff. I'm very excited. It's beautiful. The woman ended up giving us an incredible deal because I tried to she had it listed. Oh, I thought our chickens were out. Oh my gosh, got a little panicky. She had it listed for a lot more than we could afford. And honestly, just a lot more than I wanted to spend. And so I negotiated with her and she brought it down quite a bit. Also, I just realized I lost the hair tie in my braid. I am a hot mess today, guys. And it was just so gracious of her. I'm just so excited. So beautiful. I can tell that's a piece that I will love for years to come. And yeah, I just had to show you guys. We've had a few exciting house things take place. Still so much more we would love to do. we'll see if and when any of it ever gets done. But just thought you guys would like to see that update too. Yeah. So this is something I just kind of wanted to throw in there. I had some leftover pasta sauce on this night, and Dan wanted more pasta, so he made the pasta noodles, but I wanted a lower carb dinner. So I ended up making like an Italian shakshuka, however you say that, where you just crack eggs in the sauce, and I put some basil on top. It was amazing. Just wanted to throw that out there for any of you that cook your sauce and keep it separate for future meals if you want something different than pasta on the next night. It was so good. So on this day, as you can probably tell, I am wearing my pumps at this point because I wear my like hands-free wearable pumps at least once a day, sometimes twice, not just only so I can do things, but also so I can get in more minutes, because when I wear my LVs, I can get in like 45-minute pumps. And as you may or may not know, part of what is essential for maintaining a full supply of milk for baby is to not only pump a certain amount of times through the day, but also a certain amount of minutes. So I was wearing my pumps while I was shaping my sourdough bagels. We eat sourdough bagels and sourdough bread. I probably make it minimum once a week, but usually more like on average, I make bread and bagels twice a week. This fall and winter, I am hoping to expand my baking skills or just like practice on other things, because we don't have air conditioning in our house. We do have heating though. But in the summer, not only am I trying to spend as much time as possible outside, like not really chained to the kitchen if we want to be dramatic, but also just to like keep my house cooler, I'm running my oven like the bare minimum. So for us, the bare minimum is just bagels and bread every week for sandwiches, for, whenever we want them. So we're all kind of obsessed with bread and bagels. I've actually got a loaf of bread rising in my house right now. But in the fall and winter, I do want to get back to experimenting with lots of different sourdough baked goods, including I want to try my hands at croissants again. So we'll see. Anyways, on this day, baby girl was asleep. That's why I had my monitor out, and I needed to eat some food. So I decided to whip up a can of tuna. I just wanted to make like a small little charcuterie situation for myself. I had already made that for Logan, but I wanted tuna. So I made up a bowl of tuna with like mayonnaise, onions, lime juice or lemon juice, a little garlic powder, chopped up pickles. I don't even know. I make my tuna kind of differently all the time. But I had made it up, and then I had a cucumber from my mom's garden, which was massive. And I hear people say that cucumbers aren't really like edible once they're massive, but I don't agree with that. So I just chopped off the skin or cut off the skin and wanted to use that for dipping into my tuna, like picking it up. And then I cut up a little bit of cheddar cheese I had left in the fridge, as well as a pear that my friend had given me. We call it Dalton Garden Gold. It was so good. And that was going to be my lunch while I had a little bit of time to sit down and edit and do some work on my computer. So I brought it over, as well as this Cascade sparkling water. You guys know I think it's called Valley Mountain. I don't remember. There's another brand that's like my favorite, but now I'm at the point where I kind of like all sparkly mountain water. I'm not finding my words here, but you get the point when they're like spring water from the mountains, like Geraldstein or Geraldstein or whatever it's called. I just love it. So I drank this, and I had a little tea and my little plate of food while I got some work done, and I sat on my little bouncy ball. And yeah, then I ended up taking my pumps off and going to check on my bagels, and they were in fact risen enough. So it was time to boil them. Also, I had decided that on this night we were going to try a recipe from Half Baked Harvest's cookbook. They're like these double crispy cheesy beef enchiladas. So I needed to make some corn tortillas. So I mixed that dough while my water for my bagels was heating up, because I have found if you make corn tortillas, you really need to like get the water hot and let the dough sit for at least an hour. It is way more likely to fall apart when you're pressing the tortillas if you don't let the dough sit for at least an hour. So then I boiled up my bagels in my water that had honey in it. We always use honey instead of sugar unless we're out of honey, but we're rarely out of honey because we're a honey fam. That's actually one of Logan's favorite treats. It's plain Greek yogurt with honey. I've tried to swap it out before to maple syrup, and he's like, no, I want the honey back. So we're a honey fam. So I boiled my bagels, and then I like to put them on a rack before I put them on my pan, because they can get a little goopy, I find. So if I let them kind of dry out on the rack before I transfer them to the pan with the parchment paper, I find that the goop gets like it dries a bit. and it makes the bagels less likely to stick to the parchment paper and just more easy to manage. I also only boil my bagels about 1.5 minutes per side. I find that 1 minute isn't long enough. 2 minutes is too long. So yeah. So then later in the day, it was time to scrub my counters. I didn't do it right then, but scrub my counters from where I had been shaping my bagels, because I always leave behind a little like sourdough residue on the counter. And then I laid out my parchment paper on my sheet pan and put my bagels down in the pan. And I really like to brush my bagels with egg whites. I like to keep the yolk separate. I think that the yolk it bakes weird. It smells weird. It makes the whole baked good taste funky, in my opinion. But if you just brush egg whites on your bagels, it gives them almost looks like sugary and crusty and so delicious. You'll see at the end. And I use all of the egg white on the bagels. I don't skimp. I want it to be heavy and completely coated all the way around, because honestly, the front is my favorite part of the bagel because of the crispiness and almost like the sugariness type texture that it gives to the front of the bagels. Absolutely delicious. So I popped that tray into the oven, and then it was time to work on my tortillas. So I like cutting open a plastic bag and putting it on the inside of my tortilla press. And then I took out my tortilla dough and I divided my big ball of dough into as many tortillas as I felt was appropriate. I don't really have, I don't even know what the specific number is for that amount, how many tortillas you're supposed to get. I just kind of know eyeballing it, what size-ish I want my tortillas to be. So I divided them up and rolled them into a ball, pressed it on the plastic bag. The first couple, for some reason, had a hard time letting go of the plastic bag, but after the first few, it became easier. So I don't know if that's because the dough dried out a bit, or if I had a better technique with my hands peeling the tortilla off of the plastic bag. But either way, it got easier the farther along I went, and I got into a little flow with both pans. I like to keep my tortillas in this linen towel so that they stay pretty warm and pliable while I'm working on the rest of my tortillas. I will say, spoiler alert, in the cookbook, Tegan, Half Baked Harvest, said to microwave your tortillas ahead of time. I never microwave things ever. There's not even really a point for us to have a microwave at this point. But, and I don't know if it's because she used flour tortillas or if she's right and I should have microwaved them, but the tortillas were not super pliable. I thought they would be because they stayed warm in the towel, but they're not. And you'll see it kind of almost became like a Mexican lasagna. Anyways, I pulled my bagels out of the oven at this point and put them back on the rack to cool for a little while before we cut them in half. Actually, my favorite thing to do is to eat a bagel basically fresh out of the oven, whole. I don't even cut it up. I'll just dip the whole bagel in butter and salt, and oh my gosh, the Malden chunky sea salt. It's so good. So it was time to make my enchiladas, and I threw my beef and onions onto the stovetop, and I pulled out all of the seasoning that was called for to make this DIY taco mix, taco seasoning mix. And so I put everything into a little jar or a little bowl. I did not end up using all of this. I only ended up using 3 tablespoons of seasoning for the meat. I could have maybe used a little more, and I honestly probably could have used more salt. That's another thing, spoiler alert with this recipe. I will also say this recipe was not that great. I don't mean this as hate. I doubt she'll ever see this video, but if she does, this is just my opinion, while also saying that I could be following directions improperly. So just know that before I say this, it could be my fault. But I find in general that the recipes from Half Baked Harvest, 75% of the time are delicious, and 25% of the time are just kind of a miss for me. There's some people I feel the ratios are different with different people, but that's just what I find. And this recipe I really found was just okay. Now I will say this, you're going to see me make another recipe from her cookbook in this video, and it was bomb. I would have done one thing a little bit differently, which I'll explain to you as we go. I definitely overcooked part of it, but that's easily adjustable. The flavor profile though was incredible. So this was okay. I did end up eating all of it over the course of 2 days. But yeah, Dan thinks if I had used different tortillas and then maybe put more salt in the recipe, that it would have been better in general. But the tortillas, like I said, they kind of broke. They didn't really keep that like taquito vibe. It kind of looks right now like they are, but you'll see at the end, they don't. They just break apart. And so that was a little bit disappointing. Oh, also, I definitely would have used a different enchilada sauce. I should have made my own enchilada sauce. Instead, I used a canned enchilada sauce, and it was just like, it just wasn't that great. It wasn't bad, but I think that was part of it. I think the recipe needed more salt, a homemade enchilada sauce, and different tortillas, and it would have been, I think, much better. So I threw these in the oven to bake, and they had to bake for quite a bit because they needed to become crispy before I added like the extra sauce and the cheese on them, because they're kind of a hybrid of like taquitos and enchiladas. So while that was baking, I did the dishes because that's my life, right? That's all of our lives, probably all day, every day. You're going to catch us doing dishes, cleaning the kitchen, especially if you're someone who cooks from scratch, especially if you have kids. It's just, lots to clean up. And then I was burning this candle from my friend, Lacey Souter. I will try to remember to link her. I think she has an Instagram down below. She makes these beeswax candles that are just beautiful. And the great thing about beeswax candles is they actually clean the air while they're burning. Now, the candle on the stovetop is from Ginger June Candle Company. Those are not beeswax, so it's not the same thing, but those candles smell incredible. The owner is the most incredible woman. The candle in general is like a lower toxicity candle. It's just not beeswax, but both of those candles our candle companies are the candles that I have been burning for the last like year or so. Actually, Ginger June I've been burning for the last few years, but anyways, took my crispy taquitos, put them on the dish with the enchilada sauce, and then poured some more enchilada sauce on top, and then added some of this Colby Jack cheese that we buy. It's from Tillamook, and we get it at Costco in like a big old cube. It's really awesome and super melty. And so we added that on top, or I added that on top, and then threw it in the oven to bake for a little bit more. And yeah, honestly, like I said, this recipe was I'd say like 5 out of 10. It wasn't bad, but it definitely wasn't great. So there's that. On this day, I made my way out to the garden to pick some fresh sage. I really need to like figure out what to do with all the sage because it is beautiful, brilliant, delicious sage. And it's obviously going to be getting cold here and I need to like preserve it. We'll see. Our rosemary really did well too. But this is another half-baked harvest recipe, and it's like a sage chicken with crispy prosciutto, and it was so good. Dan and I like couldn't stop talking about how good it was. So I started off by crisping up the prosciutto on the pan with some olive oil. And while that was crisping, I chopped up my fresh sage and also prepped like my garlic and just anything else I needed to pull together for the rest of the recipe. Yeah, just while the prosciutto crisped up, which only took like a couple of minutes. Then I pulled that off the pan, put it on a paper towel for any like leftover grease, put in a little bit more olive oil that she called for. And then I threw in my chicken, my fresh sage, my onion powder, my garlic powder, salt, pepper, I don't remember what else, but basically I seared each side for a couple of minutes. And this is where I think it was my fault in this recipe. I definitely overcooked this chicken, and I've gotten really good lately at like not overcooking chicken. So when I do overcook it, it's disappointing. It's like, dang girl, you knew better. Like you knew better. So, but the flavor profile, like I said, incredible. So while the chicken was cooking, and this is probably why I overcooked the chicken because I was stepping away and chopping up my mushrooms, but I did that. I chopped up my mushrooms and then I flipped my chicken once I was done chopping up my mushrooms. Then I added in a bunch more butter because this is partially how you make the sauce in the recipe, and let that kind of cook around it for like a minute or so. Then I removed all of my chicken from the pan, and I was going to use the juices, or I used the juice in the pan, like the butter and the chicken juice and all of that, to cook up my mushrooms. Now this is the point where everything started smelling incredible. Like Dan came in and he was literally blown away. He's like, dude, it smells so good in here. I'm like, yeah, I think this is going to be real delicious. So cooked up the mushrooms. And then once that cooked up, I added actually more butter into the mix. And then I threw in a bunch of fresh thyme, some crushed up garlic cloves, some red chili pepper flakes, some more salt, pepper. And then I just mixed everything together. And once that had a chance to cook, I added in I want to say like 3 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar and cooked that into the mix as well. Seriously, guys, I mean, I think you can use your imagination, but it smelled so good. Then I added in about a cup of chicken stock and 3/4 of a cup of white wine. And it just had all the flavors you would hope for. So good. And at this point, I stirred everything together, let it cook down for like a minute or two, and then threw in my chicken back to the pan. So this was a 1-pan dish, which is also really awesome. And I let it just cook up in the mix. I did not get a final shot of this food. I'm sorry, but we were starving. It was dark. I felt like I couldn't get a beauty shot. It is what it is. But I had also biked to our nearby veggie stand and picked up a bunch of fresh Shishitos, cooked these up. This was incredible. This was just butter, olive oil, salt, and then at the very end, I added in some soy sauce, and I think it was my favorite way that I've made Shishitos, like better than the garlic lemon parmesan, honestly, in my opinion. It was so good, and it was quick and easy, and the combo of all these foods together was just so good. Loved it. So yeah, speaking of loved it, I hope that you guys loved this video. I love being able to share with you guys, and I always love hearing your tips and thoughts around food, homestead stuff, whatever, any of my commentary things. I just like hearing your guys' thoughts, and I hope that something in this video was helpful or encouraging to you, and I will, God willing, see you guys back here soon with another new video. All right, bye guys.